this session, so that if you...
Because what is the lady?
Sorry?
Is it Kamishta?
Yes.
The lady I was with.
We are going to take a look on the introduction. So basically, most of our classes, we must try as much as possible to exhaust a unit on each class. Okay, so on each class, it means we have to do a unit. Okay, either it will take us 3 hours, we just try as much as possible to exhaust the unit. Okay, so some units, it might be 45 minutes, some units it might be 30, it might be 3 hours, so that we can try as much as possible to exhaust that unit. So it becomes easier for you as well to follow up, because you know that when we are going to conduct our next session, if we were on unit 1, we are now moving to unit 2, and it is much versatile for this side as well, because when I'm going to save these recordings, I'll just save it as a unit 1. So if whenever you want the recording for unit 1, I'll simply send you the recording for the first unit. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So at first we want to introduce the module itself. This is Ecs2604. Okay. This is Ecs2604 labor economics. Okay. So why is it labor economics? Okay. Because of the fact that we are mostly emphasizing on the labor market. We are going to place much emphasis on the labor market. Of course, we have different types of markets. We have the labor market, we have the goods market, we also have the financial market, we also even have what is known as the forex market. Okay, but our area of emphasis is the labor market. So that's why this is known as labor economics, because we are simply going to place much emphasis on the labor market. Our energy will not be on goods and services. We will not be on the exchange of financial securities. We will not be on the exchange of foreign currencies, but it will be on the labor market. Okay.
Yes.
So the labor market, the necessity of studying labor market. Why are we even studying the labor market? Okay, what are the reasons for studying labor economics? What are the reasons for studying the labor market? The labor market helps us to understand economic questions or issues that we encounter on daily basis. Okay, either being unemployed or employed, we encounter every facets of the labor market each and every day. It could be evolving around the basis of unemployment. It could be evolving around the basis of an industrial action, which is a strike. It could be emanating from skills shortages. It could be emanating from affirmative action. Okay. So we need to deal with these issues because they are day-to-day circumstances that we face. Okay. Okay. Is it making sense? Hello?
I've lost you. Just hello, Ralph.
Hello, hi, Justina. You lost me.
I can hear you now.
Okay. Okay. Now it's better, né?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is the first thing that we have to take into account. All stakeholders would benefit from an in-depth knowledge of the labor market in South Africa as well as theoretical analysis of the labor market in general. So all stakeholders, either being an employer, either being an employee, you need to have in-depth knowledge of how does the labor market works. An employer, you should be affiliated with how does the labor market works, because I have some employees within my firm. Or either you are an employer, you also need to know how does the labor market works. Okay. Employees as well, employers as well as employees have to deal on a daily basis with concepts that we see and hear about in the media. Okay. So those are the necessity of studying the labor market. Those are the reasons behind the studying of the labor market. Okay.
Okay.
What are the unique characteristics of the labor market? Why does it differ from the goods market, where we go and buy any good or service that you might think of? How does it differ? Why? Because in the labor market, a product is not being sold, but the services of a person. So it's you whom is selling your services. You are not selling yourself, but you are selling your labor services. Okay.
Yes.
So here we do not buy or sell a human being, but we buy or sell the services that a human being can offer. It's making sense, ne?
Yes.
Principles of fairness, equity, and humanness must be applied. We should have fairness within the labor market. Within the workplace, there should be fairness, there should be equity, and there should be humanness. Whether you are an employer, you should respect your employee. There should be principles of humanness. But of course, there are other circumstances that this becomes much more theoretical than being on real grounds. Okay. The services of the worker are being bought, not the worker. The services of the worker are being bought, not the worker. We are not transacting the worker here. No, we are transacting the services that the worker can offer. If the worker is an accountant, we are trying as much as possible to benefit from those accounting services that the worker can offer, not the accountant himself. We are not buying the accountant, but we are buying the services of the accountant. Okay, the market is also characterized by great diversity. The individual worker changes over time. When you become old, either your experience have increased or you are now less efficient. Okay, there is no one single market, such as a clearing house, for example, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. The price of labor is complex. Okay.
Okay.
So we now want to take a look on the distinction between a movement along a curve and a shift of the curve. The distinction between a movement along and a shift. So you did this in Ecs2604, eh?
Yes.
Okay. So the principles that you did apply in Ecs2604, here they are the same. Only that we are now applying those principles in the labor market.
Okay.
It's just where the difference embeds from is of the fact that we are simply applying Ecs2604 in labor economics. Okay, so movement along and a shift of the demand curve. In Ecs2604, you were referring to a product saying that when the price of bread increase, when the price of whatever you might think of increase, could be it bread, could it be clothing, anything, okay? But now we are no longer taking into account those examples because this is labor economics. So we are now referring to a service, which is labor, okay? So,
Okay, so Ralph, in labor market,
we
are looking more at the service.
exactly. We are looking more at the services, not the worker,
Yes.
but the services
Okay.
that the employee offers. We are no longer looking at the price of bread, at the price of cooking oil, at the price of eggs. No. We are now looking at what the employee can offer. Can the employee offer more work hours?
Okay.
We are no longer taking into account those examples. So a movement along, so that's what I'm illustrating here. A movement along. Remember when you were doing Ecs2604 on this axis, you placed the price, ne? Now we are placing the wage, which is the return, which is what you earn. And here we are now placing labor units or labor hours. It's the same, or labor hours. Okay, what do we mean?
Okay.
This, we want to construct our labor supply curve. Our labor supply curve is upward sloping. And on this, don't worry much about where is the labor supply curve emanating from, why is it upward sloping. For now, we only need to take into account a movement along it, a shift of the labor supply curve. So we shall also dwell upon how do we construct an individual labor supply curve. How do we construct a market labor supply curve? But for now, we only simply want to distinguish between a movement along a labor supply curve and a shift of the labor supply curve. That is our area of emphasis, ne?
Okay.
Okay. It's making sense, ne?
Yes.
So, okay, I think we can start with a movement along, then I'll place a on the other side, okay?
All right.
So here, what are we saying? We are saying that, Justina, when you are earning 5,000 rand, you wake up at 9 o'clock, even at 10 o'clock, 3 o'clock, you are now going home. Why? Because you are earning less, ne?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm earning less. I can find another job which can give me 5,000. So why should I always be at work? You are only supplying 5 hours at work. If your boss comes to you the next day and say, no, Justina, we have agreed as management, and then we agreed that no, I think we should start giving you 20,000. Starting from next month, we'll start giving you 20,000. Would you continue to wake up at 9 o'clock, Justin, and leave the work premises at 3 o'clock? No, because you know that if I continue to do that, if I lose this job, I will lose 20,000, which is a lot, ne? So it means 7 o'clock, Justina is at work, even up to 5 o'clock, she's still at work. How many hours are you offering now? Maybe 10 hours.
From 7 to?
Okay, we are saying At first, you were coming at work at 10 o'clock, you're leaving at 2 o'clock, so you were only offering 5 hours of labor services, but now you are now earning 20,000. 7 o'clock, you are already at work. Maybe you are leaving around now 5 o'clock and the like. So don't calculate the hours though. This is just an example. Eh? Like what we have said, that if you start earning more, you will be at work most of your time. Eh? Okay. If your boss comes again another month and then your boss says to you, Justina, we have thought, let's give you 50,000. Let's give you 50,000.
That means the hours will increase again.
Yes, your hours of work will increase again. Even anyone who calls you while you're at work, you tell him, no, I'm busy. Because this is coming from the income that you earn. If my boss found me abusing work time, spending work time on my phone, if my boss chases me away, I'm losing 50,000. So what does that mean, Justina? It means that whenever your income is increasing, the labor hours will be
More.
Exactly. Whenever the income is increasing, labor hours will be more. Okay, so what is causing you to work more? What is causing you to devote more hours of labor at work? What is causing you to do so? Is the wage, ne?
Yes.
Is the wage, ne? Is the wage.
Yes.
So this is known as a movement along the supply curve.
Okay.
This is known as a movement along the supply curve.
Okay.
So a movement along the supply curve is caused by a change in the wage rate.
So the movement along the supply curve.
Movement along the supply curve. So this could be point A. This could be point B. This could be point C. And all of this is being caused because your boss is knocking at the door. Should we increase your salary? And when the salary is increased, 5 o'clock you're at work. So what is causing Justina to increase her labor hours? It's because the salary is increasing. And this is known as a movement along the labor supply curve. So this one is a labor supply curve. This one is a labor supply curve. Okay, so it's a supply curve. Is it making sense?
Can you just repeat that? When the movement along the supply curve?
Okay, a movement along, okay, don't worry. Let's move on a shift. When we move on a shift, you understand much better, okay? You understand much better. Here we have W. Here we have labor hours. The supply curve is always like this. Okay? But now, on a shift, we no longer have, so this is our labor supply curve, which is upward sloping, which is this one. Is our labor supply curve, which is the same as here. On a shift now, we no longer have the same, we no longer have a single labor supply curve. We no longer have a single labor supply curve. I want to annotate something. Okay. So let's say the wage rate. Okay, let me use another color. So on the shifts of the labor supply curve, these are caused by other factors, not wage, but other factors. So what does it mean? It simply means that the wage rate is the only factor that causes a movement along. Any other factors, they cause a shift.
Oh, okay.
So on a shift, we are saying, so why do we have this straight line here? Why? Because our wage is the same. The wage rate is the same. That's why we are saying that shifts are caused by any other factors, not the wage rate. So the wage rate is out of context. So if the wage rate is out of context, let's assume that the wage rate is the same. So if the wage rate is the same, we can give it an example. The wage rate is 20,000. 20,000, 20,000, 20,000 here. 20,000. The wage rate is 20,000, but the amount of labor supply, continues to vary. Why is that so? It means there are other factors that we should take into account. It means there are other factors. What are these factors now? So what we have here is that we have an initial labor supply curve. This is the initial labor supply curve. This is the initial labor supply curve. So I'll denote it by S1. Okay. What are the factors that can cause S1 to shift to S2 here? So this is our S2. S2. What can cause it to shift to S3? S3. Okay. So these are other factors that are playing around and they are not in line with the wages. Okay. Let's say this is labor supply. Let's say within South Africa, there are Nigerians who may have come into South Africa seeking work. There are guys from Malawi who may have come into South Africa, guys from Pakistan coming into South Africa. What do you think will happen to the supply curve? Will it shift will it move from S1 to S2, or it will move from S1 to S3?
It will move from S1
to
S3.
To S3, exactly. Exactly. Why? Because within the labor market, they are now Zimbabweans, they are now Malawians, they are now Nigerians within the South African labor market. So it will increase to S3. The other way around, from S1 to S2, COVID-19 have paid a visit to South Africa. It have many workers have passed on. Will it move from S1 to S3 or from S1 to S2? South Africans have died.
It will now move to S2.
It will now move to S2. Exactly. So these Malawians, these Nigerians, and this COVID-19 are other factors. They are not in line with a change in wage rate. The wage rate is still the same, but people are dying and the supply curve have shifted to the left. It's very simple, ne? Hello? Hello? They are very simple, only that we just need to apply them, okay? So those are movements.
Okay.
Those are movements and a shift of the, okay. Let's take a look on the important characteristics of the South African labor market. The important characteristics of the South African labor market. Within the context of South Africa, we experience what is known as a chronic skills mismatch. What is that? At the prevailing wage rates, there is excess demand of skilled labor and an oversupply of unskilled labor. The firms, they want to employ someone whom is skilled, 5 years experience, a holder of a bachelor's degree in accounting. But those who want the jobs now, they do not have anything. They only have their hands in their pockets. No experience, not even a course itself of 6 months. That is what we mean by a chronic skills mismatch. The skills mismatch has originated from the apartheid era. Education system for the non-white population, which are the blacks, constrained the acquisition of skills. Blacks were not allowed to attain education. Stay in the farms, be a picker in the farms, plow wheat, plow maize, do not go to school. That's where the chronic mismatch is emanating from. So unemployment is particularly concentrated among historically disadvantaged groups. Whom does this include? They include those in the rural, they include the female. Females were said to not go to school, stay home, grow and help grow the children, fetch water, fetch firewood. Or to school. So this is very applicable, ne? So in that manner, those are reasons that made non-white population.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello? I don't know if it's my side or your side, but I can hardly hear.
You can hardly hear. I think it's your side because I'm seeing that at some point in time I have lost you. So I think maybe it's your side. But at least,
Okay.
but don't
Now
worry.
it's clear.
What I would do, Justina, if I have lost you, maybe, and then I didn't realize that I have lost you. After this session, I'm going to send you the recording, okay? So that
Okay.
even though
Then.
at some point in time you need to revise, because at some point in time you do not only need to revise using the textbook or the notes, you can revise using the videos. So I'm going to send you the videos after this session, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so unemployment is particularly concentrated among historically disadvantaged groups and is higher among rural, is higher among female, is higher among the ones whom are uneducated and young segments of the population. Okay. The two important functions of the labor market, the two important functions. So don't worry about this Becker model. We shall take a look on the Becker model itself. It's like a topic itself. We shall take a look on the Becker's model. Okay. So, two important functions of the labor market. It allocates human resources among alternative users. It's also, the other important function is in the distribution of income. Okay, allocating human resources among alternative users. Those who want to buy your labor service, they can simply visit the labor market, and also in terms of distribution of income. The objectives that the functioning of labor market serves. What are the objectives that the functioning of the labor market serves? Growth, equity, efficiency, and social justice. These are the objectives of the labor market. They should serve these perspectives with regard to growth, with regard to equity, with regard to efficiency and social justice. Problems that need to be addressed here in South Africa. What are these problems? Poverty. It needs to be addressed, ne?
And income inequality.
Yes, and what?
Income inequality.
Yes, income inequality. In the
Unemployment.
same community, you can find a person who is struggling to buy one pair of shoes. In that same community, you can find another person who is driving a V12 engine. Just starting the key on, it consumes 10 liters. Okay, so let's address income inequality. We also need to address unemployment, particularly females and blacks. There are other employment opportunities where they can simply determine that we do not want to employ a female on this job post, we want a male. There are other job roles, job posts where they simply want to employ a white person. That is very applicable. Also, higher labor costs and low productivity. Higher labor costs. If a South African needs to be employed, if we ask a South African, how much do you want to be paid? He or she will say, I want 20,000 a month. But on Monday, he's not at work. He's struggling with the drunkenness. That is low productivity. He is struggling with barbarous. That is low productivity. But he wants to earn 20,000 after every 25 days. Higher labor costs and low productivity. Okay, so that brings us to the end of chapter 1. Okay? Any question?
For now, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
Do they normally take this during the exam? Is it multiple choice or long questions?
Usually, the format. Okay, we'll take a look on the supply of labor. Okay.